Hello everyone, Ben here and welcome back to RaceRoom, where we've got a fantastic ranked race coming up in the F4 at Imola. But before we get going, make sure you get subscribed to the channel so you don't miss a single race we've got coming up. But the lights are green and we are underway. We're starting in 8th place on the grid here at Imola. A very quick front two in particular in this race, so I'm not sure we're going to be catching them, but I'm hoping we can make some progress from here if we can survive the first time round the chicanes here. As we're going side by side, we're getting a little bit pinched to the apex, we get a bit of contact, a little bit of suspension damage, but we get through okay. Unfortunately, we've lost some frames from the race there, but we rejoin just a couple of 100 yards up the road and we've held 7th place, and we now actually have Normal behind us in 8th, as Woodcote was squeezed out a little bit there through the opening corners. Van Veen just up ahead of us then, trying to find a way past Nemeth, but unable to do so. As I was saying then, Castle and De Jong up front, I'm expecting that they're going to check out, and they'll be significantly faster than the rest of us. They were in qualifying. They've got fantastic ratings, you'll see there in the TV tower in the left hand side of the screen. Castle has got over 2,000 rating, so he's seriously quick. But the rest of us vying for the final podium position potentially, but certainly the top 5 is within reach for us, and that's going to be the aim for today's race, as we're closing slowly up on the back of Van Veen. As we come into the chicane for the first time, we have to get off the gas hugely there, and he just about holds it on the exit. That slowed us up a little bit, but it does give us half a chance now coming into the final set of corners here on the lap at Imola. We're closing right in, we're going to come to the inside, just shape for move, but we don't have the braking zone in order to get that done. We just weren't close enough, so we come round into the left-hander, but we get a little tap from behind. That's Normal, and he's gone round, and that looks to be a really significant accident in our rear view mirror there. A lot of cars seem to have got caught up in that, and that's given us a little bit of breathing space behind, but it just looked as if the car behind got a little bit caught out by the closing speed there into the final corner. We'll take a look at that again, but let's first just take a look at that first lap as a whole. You can see just how bunched up the field is as we barrel into the first set of corners. Amazingly pretty clean. I mean, I can't see any major accidents here on this first lap. You see we get slightly pinched to the apex, we just keep control of the car, but then it's the car on our left hand side's turn to get pinched to the apex, Woodcote, and he ends up losing a position as a result. We're carrying a tiny bit of damage, but nothing that I think is going to interrupt us too badly in the race to come. So we're just then trying to consolidate, having gained a position off the line, into the second sector of the lap. We flash forward then to the end of the lap, and this is where the big accident behind us is going to take place. We're having a look at Van Veen. We're going to try and shape to the inside, but it's a very, very tough spot to overtake here. You have to be closer even than I was there. And then just opening up the final corner, and look at that, he's carrying far too much speed in, the driver behind, and he really does. Look at that. I mean, he gets off the racing line as quickly as he can, but inevitably, because it's lap 1 and everybody is so tightly bunched up, the fact that he spins on the racing line, and there you go, another view of it, he just gets into our diffuser. We're actually lucky not to get punted off there. I think, in fairness to the driver here, he does a good job to get off the racing line and then not rejoin immediately into traffic and cause an even bigger accident. So we rejoin then just later on lap 2. We're still holding here in 7th position, but we're managing to track Van Veen very nicely. We're within half a second. He's running wide here and there, so I feel like just a little bit of pressure and I might be able to fight for 6th position here. We come into the double right-hander and he's lost it on the exit. He's gone wide, he rejoins, and then I think he essentially lets us past here. We do have more speed going into the corner, but look at that, he gets on the brakes very, very early. He's either being very cautious with dirty tyres, that's one option, or he feels essentially like he ran wide at the previous corner and therefore he should give me the place. If it is the latter, fair play to Van Veen. He's now challenging me back though, pretty quickly as we come into the final couple of corners of that. We very nearly outbrake ourselves. We just hold the apex of the corner and then gather ourselves to get going onto the start finish straight, and we've now dropped Van Veen by about 0.6 of a second, and we can start thinking about getting after Nemeth in 5th place. That's got to be our aim now. We've lost a little bit of ground following Van Veen through the last lap and a half, and we've got to try and claw some of that back. But up ahead, right now, this is the battle for the lead. And in first place, Cassel just runs wide, and that's going to allow De Jong through. And he just about rejoins ahead of third, fourth and fifth place. But that is going to bunch the field up considerably for the final podium positions, and it's really cost him a huge amount of time. Just later on this lap then, that's Axe making a mistake in the red car and being passed by Carrera, who gains that position there and has snuck past, I think, Axe partially distracted by the recovering car up ahead of him, but that has cost him a position. We're now going to skip forward quite a few laps because essentially the race was stalemate for the intervening period, but the final 5 minutes of this race is some of the best open wheel racing I've had in sim racing, full stop. It all begins here then as we barrel into the chicane once more, and Axe in the red car just up ahead gets a poor exit, and that's going to allow Nemeth right onto the back of him. He's going to pull alongside into the left-hander here, and he's going to pass him cleanly. We're going to close right in and going to try and squeeze past as well. We take a wider line to try and get a better exit speed into the hairpin. We're going to pull to the inside. No, we're not. We're going to think better of it. We just weren't close enough, but we're going to tuck back in underneath the rear wing of Axe and try and force a mistake, because clearly he's just made one, and he may make another with a bit more pressure. Carrera has dropped the three of us in the intervening period. He's now up in third place. He's got the quickest lap of the race, and he's 7 seconds ahead from where we are now. So we're really in a three-way battle for fourth at the moment as we close right in on the back of Axe, and we're going to try and just put a bit more pressure into the chicane that's coming up here. Very tight, not really an opportunity to pass, but it might be an opportunity to force a mistake. We show to the inside, he gets a bit too much curb, and that is going to send him wide. So we're going to be side by side then on exit as we come down into the tricky downhill braking zone to come. We're going to peel to the outside of the coming corner, but he closes us off again, so we come to the inside. We get later on the brakes, down, trying at the apex, but we've gone too deep, and we just keep it out of the gravel, and he comes swinging past the nose of our car. Thank God we didn't make any contact there, and we live to fight another day. We had just the slightest chance to get past there. I thought it was worth going for, but unfortunately we couldn't make it stick. We are still within 0.2 of a second of the car ahead, so we're going to be right in his draft as we come now into another lap here at Imola. We're going to pull to the outside. He's closing off the inside. Good defensive driving there. There's nowhere for me to go. I'm trying to get a better exit, but I can't do it. He's closed me off there through the chicane, and I'm going to have to regather now. We're still within half a second. We've got a good chance of putting enough pressure on to get past here, but there's a yellow flag out. Who's that up ahead? It's Carrera, and he's lost the place to Nemeth. He clearly had a bit of an off there in the second chicane of the lap, and look at this. Axe is going to go around the outside of him. Incredible. Are we going to be able to follow him through? I'm not sure that we are. He's regained the racing line. I'm going to try and show to the outside of this corner, the left-hander coming up, but that's going to be nigh on impossible to hold around, so we do think better of it and get off the gas in order to hit the curb rather than go off track, and we're going to have to settle in behind Carrera now. That's really frustrating. Oh, but he's gone wide. Look at that. He's off onto the runoff area, and that does mean we can sneak past. I was about to say how frustrating it was that we weren't able to sneak past for the second time in this race, with an accident taking place up ahead, and we were going to have to settle for 6th place, but actually we have made our way past and we're up into 5th, and I can now think about keeping Axe in my sights. We're still within half a second. Carrera behind us is just 3.5 tenths behind, so this is going to be a pretty intense battle, I think, as we get squeezed onto the brakes there and then look to get a good exit onto the start finish straight. You could really throw a blanket over the three of us, and all of this scrapping has allowed Nemeth to get away. He's now up into 3rd, so he's managed to get into the podium positions. As we cross the start finish line once again, there's probably going to be 2 more racing laps here. Looking at the clock, there's a minute 50 left, but of course the leaders will be further up the road than we are. We're just now going to take the normal racing line. I'm going to trust that Carrera isn't going to do anything silly behind us. We're going to tuck in behind Axe as we follow him through this set of corners. we're not going to be really close enough to make any sort of a move into the next section either, unless he makes a mistake. In fact, we nearly go in a little bit too deep. That allows Carrera to close right up behind us, but there's literally half a second separating the three of us here. We're going to show to the inside of the hairpin. I've got now Carrera around my outside. I'm going to try and give him the room on the exit of the corner, but then close him off from sticking around the outside. We don't make any contact, and that, I think, was firm but fair defending. We're still within half a second of the car ahead. We're going to get a nice apex here and try and just power through the next section and close in before the chicane coming up. That's what's in my mind here. We managed to do it. We get a much better trip through that set of corners, and we're closed right up on the back of the car ahead. Once again, Carrera's followed us right the way through though, and he's quarter of a second behind. We're going to show to the inside and think about getting a move down the inside. We can't do it. We've got to stamp on the brakes, but then look at that, 2 wheels off the road for Axe up ahead. It doesn't mean we get a better exit though, unfortunately, or certainly not as good an exit as we needed to get alongside into this next corner. We're going to show to the inside though, and just off to the right hand side you might have seen a flash there. That was Carrera making a huge mistake and barreling off into the gravel trap, and so he's now out of contention, certainly for the top 5. Presumably he will rejoin, and we had a little bit of a gap back to Hervas in 7th place, so he may yet hold on to 6th. But with just one more lap left, then it's a straight out battle between myself and Axe for 4th place. We're still within touching distance, and now that we don't have to worry too much about the cars behind us anymore, I can just focus on attacking rather than defending. It looks as if Nemeth has got the podium sealed. He's 2 seconds up the road now, so unless he makes a mistake and falls off the road, it very much is 4th place is the prize on the table for us today. We get a better run through the second chicane. We're closing right in with a within 0.2 of a second, but that's not enough into that braking zone. It's not a hard enough braking zone in order to then get alongside the car up ahead. 3.5 tenths now the gap as we come up the hill for the final time, and then into the downhill left hand swooping corner to try and get a better exit here, but we just can't really close in enough. It's going to take a very big and bold and risky gamble to make any sort of a pass through this section of the track, so I'm not going to countenance that for now. We do get a better exit though, and this might be the last chance we've got then into the heavy braking of the chicane. There's no real other big braking zones to come, so I'm going to show to the inside. I'm going to try and get late on the brakes. He's just as late as we are though. I'm trying then to get onto the apex of the next corner, but I just can't find a way through, whether to the right or to the left. He's blocked us off there very nicely. There's only 2 corners left now, and unless he runs wide or gets very early on the brakes, which he doesn't really, we show to the inside, but there's nowhere for us to go. Unless he runs wide here on the final corner, it does not look as if we're going to be able to squeeze past him, despite being just 0.3 of a second behind. We're going to follow Axe over the line to come home in 5th position. But wow, what a race. Phenomenal action in the final third of this one. You just won't see much closer open wheel racing than that in sim racing, and of course there were mistakes. That's how that action sort of developed, but I think what's really important was there wasn't contact between the 3 of us, despite the fact that we were running within half a second of each other for the best part of 2, maybe 2.5 laps there, and then clearly the battle between Axe and I was even closer. Here I am then trying to squeeze past him just a few laps earlier. We do make it work, but unfortunately we ran in deep, and that gives him the switch back into the next corner. Here's the mistake then from Carrera, which allows that 3-way battle to develop. You can see he just gets it wrong, and he manages to get the car slowed down so it doesn't slam into the tyre barrier. A nice safe rejoin, fair play to him for that. But there's Nemeth going past, and here as we cut to the off-board shot is Axe going around the outside of him. We're just having to tuck him behind because we don't have the speed to get past and follow Axe through, and so we have to settle in behind Carrera for the time being. In fact, we even lose a bit of time coming into that left-hander as I tried to hold around the outside, but just was never going to happen. But then, really to my great surprise, Carrera makes another mistake just misjudges the extent to which he's going to need to get on the brakes following another car closely through that part of the track. He runs wide, but he manages to rejoin. And then just later on the next lap, look at how close together we run throughout this entire lap. It's quite incredible. It was fantastic racing all round, really. As we come into the first corner, onto the exit there, we all get through nice and cleanly. We're running in each other's drafts, so we know, each of us, that one mistake from another driver here is going to present an opportunity, but equally we're going to have to be really on our toes because we don't want to get collected in an accident running this close together. It would be very, very easy to do so. I'm sort of torn here between positioning my car defensively or attacking, and you could see there I had to switch to a defensive stance and just, give enough room, but not more than that, to Carrera behind, who was looking to get around the outside. Through then into the middle section of the lap, the trickiest set of corners on the whole lap, and really we had more pace, both Carrera and I, than Axe through this section of the track, so that allows us to close right back up again on the car ahead, and so it's going to be a really tight three-way battle into the chicane. You can see behind me there, Carrera takes a look to the inside line. He senses correctly that I'm going to have a little look down the inside of Axe up ahead, where practically nose to tail through this part of the track. Axe runs wide and onto the runoff area, doesn't seem to get a slowdown penalty for that, but again, look at how close the three of us are coming into the tricky downhill left-hander here, and unfortunately for Carrera, this is where it all ends for him as he gets out onto the grass, and there's really only a one-way ticket into the gravel trap from there. Here's that accident from his onboard. You can see he just loses it behind us onto the grass, and at that point he is just a passenger, and again he has to slow it down before the tyre barrier and try and rejoin. And then unfortunately, despite our best efforts on that last lap, we couldn't get past Axe, and here we are finishing the race just 2.5 tenths behind him. A thoroughly enjoyable race, and again, what a fantastic combo here on the RaceRoom ranked servers. The F4 car is fantastic, Imola's a great circuit, and it just works. Here's the final classified results then. You can see we came home in 5th place. I really recommend you give this a try this week on the ranked servers, and if you have enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time.